What's up guys, welcome to Daily Refinement. In our morning call today, Jeannie was unsure about what I meant by reset to zero, and she thought I just meant sweeping the floor, turning the light off. But what I really mean is preparing for tomorrow, preparing for next week, putting all the things in place so that you can run a smooth business. The following 7 tips could save you thousands of dollars as a reseller, so please watch all the way to the end. Please smash the like button. We'll see you guys inside. The first part of Reset to Zero is making sure you have enough stuff to list. So I'm actually 2 months ahead on sourcing. Now, I'll tell you the difference between a death pile and a profit pile, in my opinion. It's whether or not it's actually in the queue to be listed. So for me personally, we list and sell about 2,000 items per week. So 2 months is around 20,000 items. So essentially, I'm planning ahead. I know that if I don't do any more sourcing, in 2 months we'll be completely out of inventory. So it's important to understand death pile is sometimes items that there's no plan to actually list them. And I mean like things that, like if I were to buy a washer and dryer to flip, that would be in my death pile because it's not in my normal thing of listing shoes and clothing. So since it's not actually in the normal things that I list, I consider that a death pile because it's just sitting around. Some people call it like an unintentional savings account, but that's not how I look at it because it's just sort of sitting there depreciating over time. Not a lot of items gain value being older, so I don't recommend having a queue longer than 2 weeks. A proper reset to zero would allow you to focus on the customers that pay you the most money. So this is a perfect example. New shoes is part of my product mix now because they actually take about the same amount of time and are processed the same way as brand new clothing. So most women are size 7. That's the average in the United States. So I sort of have more items that are closer to people's sizes in the center here. You can see I stock the better sizes more often. Of course, when you're buying liquidation or pallets, you often get stuck with the items that are along the edges, like size 5, 6, 4, or maybe 10, 11, 12. So for me, it's really important to source where most of the customers are. And this should sort of be the exact bell curve of what you guys use to actually source your products. So part of Reset to Zero might be product research. I think that once you have your photography, shipping, listing, processes in place, you can spend the majority of your time researching what to sell. So for me, I'm thinking about what styles are going to be best, what season is it, and I think that seasonality is something that you really need to consider. So there's a couple of things on seasonality I want to go through in more depth. I want to talk about seasonality for a moment. Michael in the morning call brought up 2 questions when it comes to seasonality. One was, in my category, where do I find out if it's seasonal or not? So if you are an expert in your category, let's say that you sell sandals. Your busy season is probably going to be in the summer, but you can use Terapeak on eBay to figure out what the exact seasonality is. Does it start to pick up in April when it starts to get warmer? Or are sandals something that sells year round? Like as an example, t-shirts actually do not have that much of a difference all year long, even though the second part of seasonality is when people are actually shopping online. A lot more people shop online in Q4 and Q1. At the end of the year for Christmas presents, at the beginning of the year when tax returns start coming in, they shop the most Q4 and Q1. So why are t-shirts not seasonal? It's because their busy season is in the summertime when most people are actually looking for t-shirts. So even though there's less people online, they're looking for that category. So it's kind of interesting to me. I actually think that maybe shorts, sandals, outerwear, swimwear might be less seasonal than other items because you actually get those sales in the summertime versus if you were only a jacket seller, maybe you don't get sales from May through August, which is kind of dangerous. So for me, when I'm sourcing my supply, you can see that on all of my shows, I have boots, I have sandals, I have sneakers. I'm getting the widest array that I can to try to reduce seasonality. Also, you guys, my videos are sponsored by Whatnot. So if you want to check out my stream, you get $15 off your free purchase. We'll put the link here. It's like whatnot.com/invite/daily refinement, something like that. And you get $15 towards your first purchase if you sign up through there. Really helps the channel. You can check out our shows. I'm leaning towards doing about 200 lots per day, and that being my main business. As you guys have known, I've been doing this for about 1 year now, trying to find the right mix of products to sell in the right format. And on Whatnot, entertainment is definitely a big factor. So I'm working in more games, but essentially I'm making my normal structure 200 auctions per day. That's my format. And it's allowed me to shrink the size of my team and also just provide the best customer experience I can for those select lots. Also, it's a little bit less seasonal for me to worry about because I'm just gonna put different types of items in for different times of the year. All right, guys, so another major part of Reset to Zero is being in a position to give. And to be in a position to give, you need more than you actually need. So as an example, if you're need $4,000 to pay your bills each month, you need to make at least $4,001. So you can be in a position to give away that $1. So as an example, with my racks, I need about 60 racks to operate my business, and I have about 100. I need about 2,000 items a week to sell, but I have 20,000. Everything that I need, I have way more just to be in a position to give. I think this is a really, really important spot to think about mentally, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I just want to get by. That's kind of a scarcity type of mindset that I feel like does not translate well to business, because people can smell when you are desperate. Anytime you are desperate or not doing well, the momentum just makes it so you do worse. It's kind of like Murphy's Law. If something bad can go happen, it will happen. So essentially, the way I'm thinking is I want to be on the opposite momentum. In case something bad happens, I've already planned for worst case scenario of running out of racks, and I don't want that to happen. Because what happens is, if you don't have the right systems in place, items get put on the floor, items get lost. But if you always have extra, more than you actually need, you can actually help somebody out when they need the time. And I think that's gonna happen always. You're always gonna have a family member or a friend need something from you. And if you don't have any margin in your life, you're so just barely getting by, you're never gonna have time to take some time off and actually go help them. And that's what, again, with my new baby coming, planning ahead has allowed me to take more time off. The first time I had a baby, it was a way more scatterbrained because I just was kind of just barely getting by with my business. And different scenario this time, way more prepared. I could completely close if I wanted to and not come in, although something to consider when you have employees, their bills still come, so you gotta make sure they have stuff to do. All right, guys, a major component of Reset to Zero is planning. So after you're all done with your listing go photography, everything is put away, desk is cleared, you can start planning for the future. So for me personally, the perfect resale business is around $6,000 per day revenue. I think this is like the perfect balance between having extra people that work for you that you need to plan for, and also still being able to be in the business. I've had as many as 10 employees, and at that stage of your business, it's more like you're an HR person. All you're doing is managing people completely. At this size business, about $6,000 revenue, it can still mostly be you. So for me personally, I like that area, but planning really depends on what you like to do. Do you like to be hands-on photographing and listing things? Do you want to spend most of your time sourcing? Do you want to spend most of your time answering questions? If you sell really high-end stuff, it's a different experience than if you sell $1 free shipping widgets from China. Very, very different. One scenario, you're selling tens of thousands of items a day for a couple bucks. The other scenario, you might be selling only one Rolex per day. Like the store that I was reviewing, they had 150 Rolex in stock. They were all in a safe deposit box at the bank. They actually only sold 5 Rolex per month, but they made $1,000 profit per sale. So you could either make $1,000 per sale and have 5 items per month. That store is very different. All the photos were taken on her wrist. So she put the Rolex on her wrist, took the pictures, listed, went to the bank, put it in the safe deposit box. That was her system. If you're selling items that are $5 free shipping and you get them for 2 cents from China, maybe you need to sell 5,000 items per month, make $1 each 5,000 times. Both are reasonable and both models exist on eBay, but it all comes down to actually planning. Selling stuff for $5, you really don't care if somebody says that it isn't what it is, or return fraud only costs you 2 cents plus shipping because you bought the item for 2 cents. On a $20,000 Rolex that you make $1,000 on, fraud might cost you $19,000. So you have to be very careful depending on what you sell, and it comes down to planning. So the reason why I recommend everybody gets done before noon is so you actually have time to plan. All right, guys, so it's really important when you're focusing on Reset to Zero to have enough time to do product research. This is the most important part of reselling. It's getting to know your customers. This is why I'm not afraid to share any secret on YouTube or online, because most people never develop an intimate relationship with their customer, and I'll show you what I mean. So here we have 5 different products. We've got a pair of jeans. We've got this windbreaker from Good American. We have this tunic dress, which could be either a tunic, depending on if you're tall, or a really short dress if you're shorter. Either way, this customer is different than the maxi customer versus snowboarding pants. This is 5 different things all in the same category, all totally different customers that care about totally different features. So people ask, like, what item specifics do I need to put in my listing? My answer is always all of them, especially the ones that are relevant. So every single thing that you can tell the customer about: how the embroidery is done, what it's made out of, what's the size, what are the measurements, what's the color, that all matters. Can it be folded into a cute little bag like this Good American windbreaker? That's important for the customer to know. Is it mid-rise, low-rise, or high-rise for jeans? That's important. Is it pre-owned? Is it new? What are the conditions of the of the damage? Is there any flaws? This information is super relevant to your customer, and I recommend doing all of it. So if you're not done with your day really early, you can't plan for tomorrow. But for me, I need to arm all the people that work here and myself with all the knowledge to be able to sell in the category of clothing. And obviously, this is why it's easier to only sell in one of these categories. Only selling windbreakers would mean all of your items are definitely shipping first class. This windbreaker is only 2 ounces. Compare that to this pair of snowboarding pants or this pair of jeans. This pair of jeans is a women's pair of jeans that's size 4. I can tell right away it would be first class. That snowboarding pair of pants is definitely shipping priority because it's over 1 pound. Totally different shipping, totally different processing, totally different storage. The only thing that's the same is that it can be hung on a hanger, and that's why it fits into our system. Earlier in the video, I was talking about shoes fitting into a different kind of system. So it's different. Trying to do 2 different kinds of businesses means 2 different kinds of setups, 2 different types of sourcing, and it would be easier to do just one. So for me, because of the people that I am interacting with on the supply chain, I'm catering my business towards what I can get into my business. That's also important. That's why I recommend you join our Facebook group at patreon.com/resourcepodcast, because we start with teaching you what's available in your zip code, and then you can start expanding from there. I was talking to another person that lives in a really small town, or I call it small, but 20,000 people in their town. They have to drive 2 cities over to source. But it's completely fine because on the 2 days they go sourcing, they get enough inventory for the rest of the week, but they know exactly what they're looking for. So in my video this morning on a live, I was talking about the 10-minute miracle, and it's training for toddlers. If you spend 10 minutes with a toddler, you can get like 1 point of reference across. They can learn 1 little nugget. You can share 1 little moment with them. I feel like that's what this is all about when it comes to product research. Research what a tunic is. Research dress lengths. Research the different types of sleeves. Research windbreaker materials. For 10 minutes, little by little, you'll build a huge Rolodex in your brain of information of how the different products work in your specific niche. And it should become obvious why I recommend just picking one, because it makes it a lot easier and you'll need to learn one thing once. And in the example in the morning call where we're talking about one of the shoe sellers, he sold the same shoe 630 times. So he just learned about that shoe 1 time and repeated the process 632 times. Where somebody else who sold 632 different items had to learn all these item specifics 632 times. So it's up to you, but I highly recommend staying in a narrow expertise because it just makes your life a lot easier.